So, what is your name?
My name is George Michael Cadornes.
Okay, I'm gonna probably edit out the last name part.
Why? George Michael C.
And how old are you, George?
I am 45 years old.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Toronto, Ontario, Dufferin and Bloor area. Bloor and Lansdowne, great area to grow up in.
Okay, so what was your life like at home when you were growing up? Talk about maybe your mom and dad.
It was normal. I had a normal life. I played hockey, went to the Boys and Girls Club, went to the rec center, right? Catholic school. What else? Mom was Ukrainian, dad was Portuguese. So the household dynamic was a little different. Spent a lot of time with my mom. My dad was always at work, and my dad was always in the basement.
Did your parents either of them drink or do drugs?
Yeah, my dad drank like a fish. My dad was a full-blown alcoholic. Although, if you ask him, he was not. He says he had a house, he goes to work, this and that, so he's not an alcoholic. But, he drank himself to sleep every night, so I think he was an alcoholic.
When were you, how old were you whenever you first tried drugs for the first time?
First tried drugs, I was about 13, 14 years old.
What did you try?
Marijuana. Weed, man. Good old
what
cess.
was that? Tell me briefly about what that experience was like.
The first time we went on a mission, about 6 of us. My house, my parents used to go to Las Vegas once a year, so my house was a party house during March break. And so we went, we got some weed, this and that. We walked in the winter, all fucking nasty. But then we all hotboxed in my bathroom. And I remember that, man.
What did you feel like when you first smoked hash?
No, it was weed. It was weed that time.
So
that time was weed.
What did you feel like when you first smoked weed?
Fuck, good question, man. Different, I guess. Different, at peace, right? Nice, good, happy, fit in. But I was always quiet. Like, I'm loud and obnoxious now. I was quiet. Give me a joint, I shut the fuck right up. I get into my head. That's kind of scary.
So, you smoked weed and you drank, I guess?
Oh, yeah, drank, yeah. Like, we used to have PA days, and my dad always had alcohol. I remember one time my dad and them were home because they weren't working, and we had a PA day, and my uncle bought us a 2-4. Like, 12, 13 years old. So,
and
yeah.
It was normal then?
That was normal, yeah.
Okay. Tell me about when you first got into harder drugs. How old were you? What was going on?
Probably before I was 16, I had already done cocaine, crack, might have tried heroin by then one time, mushrooms, acid, but we used to get crack and smoke Cocoa Puffs. We wouldn't smoke it out of the can, right? That was a crackhead thing. But a Cocoa Puff was nothing. It was a Zook, right? That's what we used to do with the cocaine, too. So I guess that was okay.
Describe for people who are watching what a Cocoa Puff is.
What a Cocoa Puff is you take a little bit of tobacco to your cigarette, you suck up cocaine into it, twist it around so it's all over, melt it, heat it up, and then you smoke it.
And what was that feeling like when you first tried cocaine? Do you remember that?
I remember thinking, why would people do this? There's nothing to it. There's really nothing to it, right? You do heroin, there's a high, there's a best feeling in the world. Cocaine, there was nothing to it.
Okay, so by 16, you had dabbled in cocaine. So we're getting a little bit older. Tell me about when you started to use heroin. We were talking a little bit earlier about using heroin.
Well,
what
I told
that
you.
feeling was like.
I used to sell a lot of weed.
Mm-hmm.
I started selling cocaine, which I avoided for years because I was always offered, but I was okay. I was making money. I didn't care because I knew I would abuse it. So I'm selling cocaine, living with my son's mother, going to clubs every night of the week except Tuesday. For some reason, we didn't go out on Tuesday, but every other night we'd go out because I was involved with a DJ, with an MC, with club owners. Like, just I happened to be in that circle. And I'd sell a lot of cocaine. And me and the DJ used to get a package of heroin once a week. For months this went on. And we would just split it between us, and that was enough. And then slowly but surely, Like, I loved it. I loved it right off the bat. Right off the bat. Never got sick. Like, you hear people, they try it, they puke for days or hours. I just loved it.
What did you like about it?
One, I could fuck like a porn star, honestly. And two, it was just the best feeling ever. It literally was, man. Like, you know, I had seen people die from it already, and I swore up and down I would never do it. And guys in my area were doing it, this and that, and I could see what was happening to them, and I just didn't care, I guess. You know what I mean? As crazy as it sounds, maybe I wanted to be like that. But, you know what I mean, there was that unexplained just euphoria with it, right? It was great. So, you know, it made me more outgoing. It made me fucking, like I said, better in bed. Like I didn't have sex not high for years after that. Like, you know, that's just now.
So you weren't one of these people to use heroin and just go disappear. It made you more social. It made you more confident.
No, because with the cocaine, I was still out there because I was selling it. But no, I was becoming more of a recluse. Like, because, you know what I mean, there was years then of heroin when I was still in the environment. And then, though, I got away from the heroin just because I couldn't get it. People got busted and blah, 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 blah. And my dealers vanished, so I was just moved on to the crack cocaine. And that was a dark part, too, of my life, right? Leading up to what, you know, was a bank robbery. So, but, no, in the beginning, yeah, doing it with my buddy. One weekend, he wasn't around. I didn't know that. I scored it myself, and I had it. So I just did it, and I did it. I remember I did it either the Friday night and the Saturday night, and I continued. I bought more on the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you know, and it just went on like that for a couple months. I still had money, was no object, you know. It was only like $40, $80 a day at the end, maybe. But I remember this. I remember the first time I got sick, and the only reason I got sick is because my dealer didn't have any, and I was like, oh shit, I'm a fucking junkie. And, you know, instead of stopping and cleaning up, because I was just still doing the cocaine really heavy, still smoking weed, you know, I just never stopped, man. I just searched out more, and that was it. Moved on, right? Because sure, he was dry, for a day or two, you know, so I just barely got a taste of being sick. So yeah, no, I remember that. That was probably a turning point, right?
How did you do the heroin?
Snorted it. Didn't start shooting for probably a couple of years into it, right?
Okay.
And I remember that though too. The first time I tried to shoot heroin, I went out, I bought syringes. I had no idea what I was doing, literally no idea. And I remember trying to just put it under my skin, and I didn't know you were supposed to flag and all this and all that, and I just couldn't do it. So a couple of days later, I had my apartment still, and this guy came over who was an active user too from the neighborhood. And I remember going in my basement, because we had a basement and a top floor apartment. And I was standing in the basement, and he shot me up. And I remember yelling up to my girlfriend, Tanya, you have to try this. It's fucking awesome. You know, and the way I went, man. Yeah.
So around this time too, you were getting in trouble with the police too for the first time?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Tell me about the first time that you had contact with the police.
First time I ever had contact with the police, me and my girlfriend were arguing, right? I had just turned 18. I had very, very little police interaction before that. They used to come by the neighborhood, just check us out, ask us our names, but never been arrested, never been in a police car, nothing. Turned 18, like literally 2 weeks afterwards, so mid-August, hot. Me and my girlfriend are arguing. And we've been arguing all day. We used to yell, like we're both junkies, remember this, right? So probably arguing about drugs. I remember her friend being there, and I was like, stop showing up for your friend, blah, 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 blah. And we were arguing, and then I left. I was outside. She comes out, she's yelling at me. I go back inside the apartment, and I was doing something, and the police had come by. Somebody called. So they came by one time. Hey, what's going on? Nothing. We're just arguing, whatever. So they left us alone. So not even half an hour later, we're still arguing. And she pissed me off. She threw something at me or whatever, and I started chasing her. She ran out the house, and we're running around my car, literally. And I was like, come here, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Not like really meaning it. We're just arguing. We're kids. And sure enough, somebody calls the police. Police show up, and they draw down on me too. They'd pull their guns and like, back away from the car, put the scissors down. I'm like, what are you talking about? What scissors? And I look at my hand, I have a pair of scissors in my hand. Because like I said, I was doing something. So I get arrested. I get charged with, uttering threats, assault, because they said I resisted arrest, resisting arrest, a bunch of stuff. So go to the police station. And here's something I'll tell you, is listen to that warning about remaining silent. You have the right to remain silent, because I did not. I poured my guts out to them. I'm an addict, I'm fucked up, I need help, and this is why this happened, and all this got used against me in court. So fast forward a week. So funny thing is I go into the Don jail. On the streets, I have to use every 3 hours. If I'm on the street, I had to score every 3 hours, or else I was sick. Going to the Don jail, like I said, first time ever, don't know anybody, don't know a soul. And funny enough, I tell them, I'm a heroin addict, I'm gonna be sick, blah, blah. I didn't get sick for 2 days. 2 days, because I knew I could not get it. So my brain, I didn't get sick. 2 days later, I started getting sick, but then I was released. And so whatever, I get released, go back to my mom's house, go back to my apartment, right? And I guess the landlord, which I had already had some problems with because he was a nut job.
You had a condition, right?
I had a condition of not returning to that property. End up going back to the apartment. Me and Tanya are actually having sex, and I hear the doors closing, and I hear the billy club sliding in, the police thing. And I stop and I tell her, I said, Tanya, the cops are here. First she tells me I'm crazy. She looks out the window, and sure enough, the cops are there. I try to hide behind the couch. They come up, because the landlord's like, he's up there. They come up, they just look behind the couch, like, okay, George, come on out. I'm like, yeah, let me grab my underwear. I reach over the couch to grab a pair of underwear, because I am naked, and they put a handcuff on me and literally drag me over the couch. Start kicking me, punching me. So now I'm fighting too. Like, you're not gonna hit me, I'm not gonna just not do it. I don't give a fuck if you're a cop or not. But it's two big boys. One was actually from Quebec. He was here as an exchange program, and he was the worst. And then the other one. So finally, we're tussling, this and that. She jumps on one of the cops' backs, and he literally just throws her. And this makes me stop, because I know she's pregnant. I know she's having complications. So I calm down, this and that. Now I'm literally lying on the ground, face out, like, what do they call that? Prawn, in the prawn position. And they start fucking rubbing their boots on my face, giving me like carpet burns with their boots. And it's not, thinking it's all a big joke until, I get arrested, get thrown in the cop car. So then I remember going to the police station. Just before you pull in, they have to check in the police and tell them they have one in custody and all this stuff. So as we're entering, the cops turn around and they say, okay, listen, we'll make you a deal. You don't say we beat you, and we won't charge you with the other threats, because I threatened the landlord, with resisting arrest, with all these other things, and all we'll charge you with is the breach of bail condition, because I wasn't allowed to be there. So me not knowing any better, I said, sure. So for those of you who've been arrested, when you come in, you see the duty sergeant. Duty sergeant asks you, are you okay? What happened? This and that. And I had physical wounds on my body. And he said, or visible wounds on my body. And he said, what happened to you? And I turned around and said, no, this happened the night before. And as soon as I said that, the cops turned around and charged me with everything that they possibly could. So from one charge, I went to like 7. And now I'm standing there saying, they're lying. They made me a deal, and blah, 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 blah. And then the sergeant said, straight out, you already said they didn't do it. It's on video. So fast forward a couple months now. We're going to court now. We've been trying to get the charges just dropped, but they won't drop them. And I remember one time I showed up to court, and the 2 cops that beat me, they're sitting there, and they're laughing at me, asking me, how's my face? Am I okay? How am I doing? And all this crap, right? So to them, it was just a big joke. Like, they knew I couldn't do nothing to them. So that was my first interaction with Toronto's finest.
Breeds some distrust of the police.
Yes,
things like that.
definitely, right?
Where in your life were you when you made a decision that
I want to
robbing a bank was a good idea?
Seemed like a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay. A couple reasons why I thought that was a good idea. I didn't think. Well, not one. My mom worked in a bank for 25 years, so I knew a lot of like inside stuff. Right? It's not like the movies where you're gonna get thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're not, not from a till. And I knew that there's only one teller who will have like anywhere from $7,000 or $5,000 to $7,000. That would be the head teller. All the rest only have a couple $1,000s at a time. I knew that. Don't let them keep the note. Or that they have to give you the money. Like they have to. That's their main thing. Get you out of the bank. That's all they care about. They don't care about the money. The money's insured. A note's sufficient. You don't need a gun, because if you use a gun or pull a weapon, you're going to get charged with armed robbery. My guy was just charged with robbery. I also watched on Dog, the Bounty Hunter, that it takes a certain mentality to rob a bank. And I wanted to see if I had that. And I do.
It was a challenge for you.
Yeah, it was a challenge. And then when it comes down to, though, it was also just a cry for help, because I was in a bad spot. The heroin wasn't such a problem, but the crack cocaine was, right? That's what I used to do. I used to get onto methadone, clean up, but keep smoking crack. So at this time, I wasn't doing good, just working the smoke, right? I always had a job, basically, and, just smoking fucking crack, get paid on Thursday night, be broke by Friday morning. And so I needed something. So I knew if I robbed this bank, I'm not going to get away with it, because as you know, the bank was in my backyard. The bank was where I did banking, but it was like the perfect scenario. I could get in and out, back into my building before anybody knew what was going on. So I decided to do it.
So just want to stop you there. So you pretty much had decided that you will get caught for this.
Oh yeah, I knew
you
that.
You went into it with no expectation of
getting away with it. No. I had one expectation, but that all got thrown away because they kept the note on me.
Okay.
If they didn't keep the note, they wouldn't have a record of my fingerprints, and they'd have to find my face. But I had plenty of police interaction. Now, one cop would have recognized me if that's what they did, right? Posted around, or if they even canvassed the neighborhood. Hey, he lives right there, right?
Yeah.
Like my backyard was literally in their parking lot. So my parking lot was adjoined to their parking lot.
Okay, so the day of the robbery,
Yeah.
Did you plan it out like a couple days in advance? Or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you knew what day you were going to do it on. What time of the day did you choose
Yeah.
to do it?
I think it was just after lunch, because I'm not too busy after lunch, this and that. Lunchtime they would get busy. I could watch. I could literally see the bank from my bedroom window.
Was there a certain time or a certain day of the week that was?
No.
didn't
It was
really
just, I got up one day and I was like, today's the day, and I just did it, right? Just did it. I wanted to get high. I wanted money. I was sick of it, so I went out and just did it, right?
Okay, so you're in your house. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Your heart's going. Like.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Heart's going. Nervous as fuck. Mm-hmm. So I go. I get into my little costume.
So first, you wrote the note.
Wrote the
first?
note. Yeah. Tried not to touch it and all this
Do
and
you
all
remember
that.
what the note said?
Yeah. It said, "This is a robbery. I have a weapon. Quickly, quietly, give me all your money." So I go. I get dressed up. Take off my glasses. Put on a hat. Yay! Big disguise, right? Hadn't shaved for a while, so I had a beard. Go out my back door, into their parking lot, into the bank, walk in, nobody in there, maybe one person. So I'm the next person in line. She calls me over.
And was there any hesitation at this point? Did you have any?
No,
like,
going in.
Around, or?
No, at that time, no. So I give her the note. She looks at me and she's like, makes a face like, "Are you serious?" And I motioned, "Yeah, hurry up." And she's like, "Give me a second." I look around like, seriously? She walks over to the manager who's standing right there at the end of the tellers, shows her the note. I see them talking, and now during this time, I'll be honest with you, I'm nervous as fuck, and I want to just leave. I almost just turn around and leave. But then I think to myself, I've already gone this far. I'm going to go to jail regardless. So might as well wait for the money. So she comes, and I had brought a legal pouch envelope. So they would drop the bills in, and I could see if there was any die packs, right? Because they would all separate. So I put this thing on the envelope on the counter, and she drops in 50s and 100s. And I can see in her drawer, she's got a stack of 20s, a stack of 10s. I'm like motioning to those, give me those too. And she nods her, like she shakes her head, no. And I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean no, right? Give me all the money. Come
Did
to
you
find
say that,
out.
or it was all
No,
I
didn't speak. So come to find out later, it was because she says She was afraid because there were dye packs in there. She didn't want anything to happen to her.
But why would they put dye packs in 20s and 10s?
Why not? Because maybe people grab those.
Do?
I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, they do. They have them in a thing. But the dye pack, see, I would have seen it and just thrown it back at her because the dye pack won't go off inside the bank. It goes off once you pass, like, you know how like with the shopping carts, it trips the shopping carts or it locks up? Same idea, right? It's just a sensor that activates it.
Okay.
So
she
I
puts
knew
the
all
money in.
this.
She
Yeah,
puts
she
the
puts the
money
money in. I look at the money. I asked for the note back. She's like, nope. I was like, okay. Because she put it on the counter behind her. And I just go out the door. And it was funny enough, though, when I got arrested, they showed me a bunch of pictures. In the bank, you can't see me. At the teller, you really can't see me because I kept my head down. I did all these things. But it's on the way out. There's 2 bank machines. And I'm telling you, it looked like I was walking out and actually posing for the camera. That's how clear of a picture they got of me.
Wow. Okay,
So-
so you got this pouch. Where did you put it on your body? Did you put it?
I had a bag. I had a bag with me, right? A green bag. And so I just carried this bag. I have to go out, go right, go to the next property, which is a Softron. It's still there. Cut through their parking lot. Then there was an opening to my parking lot. Go in that parking lot, go back in my building, go up to my apartment, get changed. At the same time I'm doing that, I'm calling a taxi. And in all that time, waiting for the cab, getting changed and everything, no police, no nothing. So I was good. Got in a cab, went to Toronto, scored dope, came back, rented a room.
Did you spend all that money on?
I actually gave my mom like $300, and she's like, "Oh my!" Because I told her what I was gonna do, and she's like, "Oh my God, you actually did it!" And I was like, "Yep," and I fucked off. Came back a day and a half later or so. Money's all gone. Came back in, got that money from her, went, bought like a little bit more crack, smoked it, took a shower, this and that, and I was like, I gotta cut my nails because the last time I had been in jail, it was hard to get your nails cut. So I was like, I gotta cut my toenails and everything because it'll probably be a while if I cut my nails. And so I'm there, I'm actually making something to eat, there's a knock on the door. And I didn't think nothing of it, to be honest with you. So I opened the door, and here there's like 10 of the biggest cops I've ever seen in my life, okay? They're shocked that I'm home. And they start calling me, Michael, 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 get down, Michael, get down. And I'm like, who the fuck is Michael? It's you, get down. So I'm joking with them, this and that. And I'm on the floor, and the one cop's saying, put your hand behind your back. And I'm saying, well, tell your partner to take your foot off my arm, right? And I will. And all I can hear in the background is my mom saying, are those real guns? Are those real guns? I'm like, no, Mom, they're fucking toy guns. They're playing. Of course they're real, right? So all this, all that. And yeah, they took me. Their boss was a woman. And I remember her telling me in the interview room that, why'd you have a bank? You know, you only got $1,700 and you know, you could have robbed the Hasty Market across the street and got a lot less time. But I was like, one, that's where the money is. They have to give me the money. That's what they're trained to do. And two, I'd have to fight the guy at the Hasty Market probably for that money, right? I don't want to do that, you know? So that was that, man.
So you were obviously held.
Yeah, held without bail. I did a total of 18 months, right? So
That was your sentence?
That was my sentence. I think it was total of a year inside. Spent like 6 months on DC side, 6 months on CC side. Worked in the kitchen. Got 260 pounds. It's another 40 pounds that I am now. I was fucking
Where did you
huge.
serve that time? Maplehurst?
Maplehurst.
Yeah.
And you know what? Jail was not a bad experience. Like, you know, I did a lot of things. I was supposed to get federal time, but I did not because when I first got in, I signed up for every program I could. I said it was a cry for help. I, you know, started getting help. Like I joined drug treatment, went to AA, you know, I did all this and all that. And my sentencing judge, he said straight, I'm not going to give this man federal time because he's going to go sit in reception and do nothing. At least he's already doing something at Maplehurst. So I used to work 14 hours a day in the kitchen, you know, just to kill the time, which it did. And here's the funny thing. So I was convicted February 26th, 2008, I guess that was. And I got released July 26th, 2008. That happens to be my birthday. So all this time on CC, when I had problems with people or whatever, which wasn't often, it was like twice, I remember telling these guys, don't you fucking make me lose my good day, that's my birthday. And the funny thing was too, to get back to the drug thing, I didn't do drugs for that time. I didn't smoke cigarettes for that time, even though I had cigarettes given to me every day. I used to give them away.
Were those available inside, or
No,
were
they
those
weren't
smuggled?
available. They were smuggled in.
Okay.
First thing, as soon as I got out, first when I started smoking, I asked for a cigarette. Got that cigarette. As soon as I got back into town, my mom had like a GST check or something for me. I had like $150 to my name, right? What did I do? I bought crack and got high. Right away.
Wow.
Right away. After all, a year of not doing it.
So you served your time for that. Let's fast forward to maybe when you came into recovery. You've been sober for how long now?
It's almost 7 months now.
Almost 7 months.
Yeah.
So when you came in, what was your life like 7 months ago? What were you doing? Where were you living?
I was living in the Wilkinson shelter in Brampton. I'd been there maybe about 4 or 5 months by then. And I went to a program called the DARE program. Because I've been trying to kick on my own for the longest time. I just never could. I would last like 2 weeks, still feeling like shit. And I couldn't do nothing about it. Like, I just got sick and tired of always going through the same nonsense. So I finally asked for help. And you know what? I got it. I got help. I met a wonderful nurse. I met a wonderful addictions counselor who, put me in touch with the right people, got me into the DARE program, like I said. The nurse got me on Suboxone, then on Supplicate. I'd never done Suboxone in my life. I've been on and off of methadone for years. I don't consider any of my time on methadone as being clean.
You feel differently on Suboxone?
Oh, I feel 100% different.
Yeah.
100% different. Like that noise in my head has stopped.
Is this the most clean time that you've had?
In a long time, yeah. Yeah.
What's the
in a
most you've
long
had
time.
before this?
Almost a year. So I'm coming up to the most I've ever had in my life. That's for sure. And it's totally different because before, I was still telling myself, maybe someday I can use. Like now, I know I can because that was 25 years ago, right? And somebody told me, don't be like me, don't spend another 20, 25 years out there. And that's exactly what I did. So I was just lying to myself before, you know what I mean? And like I said, that voice in the back of my head was always there. And it's just not there now.
So what are some of those things to get that voice out of your head? You're working right now? You're going
Yeah,
to
I've always worked, right? That wasn't the thing. I always had a job, Like, I didn't spend much time at it, but I had a job. I don't know why the voice stopped, man. I don't know if it's because of the boxing, because of Supplicate. I don't know if it's because of what I'm doing with the meetings and, being honest. I don't know if it's just because I just finally had enough. Like I think it's a combination of all of it. I just finally had enough. I asked for help. I'm willing to do anything. So, it's a total transformation, right? And just like they say, it is truly a simple program. I hate people who complicate it. I hate people who, try to do it their way. Like there's a way to do it and just get it done, right? And that's all it takes is you got to do the work. Like if it was to score or get high, I would do anything. So to get sober or stay sober, I'll do anything too, right? Including this crappy video. No, I'm joking. No, it's just that's just the reality of it, right? Like, and the reality of it too is that it takes a quarter of the effort to stay clean. It really does. Than it did to stay high, right? It was a lot of fucking work getting high, man. Right?
You got 7 months sober.
Yep.
You're working.
Yep.
Your life is. What's the future look like for you now?
The future looks calm. It looks, I have somewhere I want to be. I'm glad that, you know what I mean? I don't have to do anything to get up. When I get up, yeah, I go to work. I have to get up and go to work. But I don't have to, put a pill in my body, get score. I don't have to do anything like that. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing for me. And for me, the biggest thing is there's no more noise in my head. When I go to sleep at night, I close my eyes, I go to sleep. That's the greatest feeling I've ever had. Like, I know now that I was like that even as a kid growing up. You know what I mean? That's the funny thing is like there was always some kind of noise up there. And right now the noise is gone. Mm-hmm. So that's the best feeling I've ever had in my life.
And that's from being sober and clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, thanks, George. We're good. Okay.
Okay?
Thanks, man.
Okay.